Hello everyone, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that everybody's here today. Today is going to be a fantastic show because I want to introduce everyone to one of my best friends in the whole world. Her name is Kathy Lempertz. And I just have to warn you first of all, before she comes out, she is worldly. Okay, so don't let that put you off though, because you're going to see once you meet Kathy that she's actually kind of a conundrum to Jehovah's Witnesses, because she is as nice and as honest and as principled as any Jehovah's Witness you will ever meet. In fact, I say much more so. So everyone, meet Kathy.
Hello, good morning. I'm Kathy Lempertz, and it's very nice to meet you all. This is my first time being interviewed by anybody, let alone my best friend, Susan.
Well, our show today is going to be really interesting because so many times, you know, if you've been a Jehovah's Witness or been around Jehovah's Witnesses, you know how they love to condemn the world. And they put worldly people down. They say all kinds of horrible things about them. And I, of course, was a Jehovah's Witness at one time. And I believed all this stuff. Mm-hmm. I thought, yes, I knew that there were some good people in the world. But I guess I was always looking for that hidden, badness, that satanic influence that's going to make them turn against me at some point. And, they were supposed to attack God's people at some point in the future. And so I was always, keeping them, at bay. I would never get too close to them. And that's what we were taught. Don't have any friends in the world. And then what I wanted this show, though, to emphasize is the fact that when you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses and you leave all that negativity behind, the end of the world is coming and the world is so horrible. When you leave all that negativity behind, you get to meet people like Kathy, who are so positive and they're making a difference in the world. They're actually not just complaining about how horrible the world is, but actually doing something about it. And it really helps you to realize that you can have real friends. Mm-hmm. And you can get on with your life. And this is one of the best ways of getting on with your life, because people always ask me, how do I get on with my life? Well, make a friend outside of the religion, and you're going to see how much better your life is going to be and how you're going to really start to have improvements in your life.
What's interesting about our friendship is that it's not something that we were each looking for. We didn't know anything about each other's backgrounds. And we met at work. And I don't know if you want me to go into this, but I find it something that's very interesting. Very interesting from my perspective. I was very, very drawn to Susan. Susan used to work at a company called CAE, and she would work in the legal department, and I worked in the finance department. And I would have to often go downstairs and meet with the vice president and have to go and talk to Susan. And Susan would always have this vibrancy, joy, smile, and optimism, and she exuded this incredible energy that I was really attracted to. And it was something that really connected me to her, but I knew nothing about her background. But I became interested in getting to know her. So we started chatting it up. There were interesting little photos about her and her boyfriend that she loves, who is now her husband, all over her desk. And that's how we started chatting it up. And we just became friends and went out for supper and went out for coffee, and suddenly realized that we really had a lot in common. And it really had a lot to do with kindness in the world and learning a lot about each other. And she started to tell me that her background was raised as a Jehovah Witness.
I told her my story.
And I knew really not very much about Jehovah Witnesses, so I was kind of excited to learn a lot about it. I've only heard of Jehovah Witnesses.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
I
have to correct you, because people watching this will say it's Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes, and to me it was Jehovah Witness. That's what I heard. And all I knew is that they knocked on your door. And that's it. No one had ever knocked on my door. I had never met anyone who was a Jehovah Witness. So I was kind of excited to learn more about this. And the more we talked, the more I was intrigued and interested about the type of community this is. And a bit disappointed, I'm going to be honest. A bit disappointed in the fact that there were things about it that were, to me, hurtful, unkind. And I'm a very big believer in what I said originally is what attracted us to each other as friends was the optimism, the positivity, the kindness, the being charitable to other human beings and doing anything we can to help and influence in a positive direction.
Well, so you never met any Jehovah's Witnesses before? Never.
Never.
Had they never called on your door before?
Never.
Really?
Never.
Wow. And that's an interesting point actually, because they pride themselves in the fact that they reach everybody and they call on doors a lot. I have lived in this house now and in this area since 2004. I've had them call 3 times. Once in this house, only once, and that was when they were delivering a special tract campaign. And the lady literally dropped it off and left. I mean, I wanted to engage in a conversation. I don't know why, but I did. And she didn't want to. She just, nope, And the other 2 times I took the magazines both times and they never came back. I never said a word about who I was or that I was an XJW. I never said a word about that. I was very gracious. I took the magazines. Thank you very much. Never came back. So I find it odd that we live in the in the Western world, and this is where they say they cover the territory. That the end is coming based on the fact that you have to be given a witness. They have to be able to warn you, and you've never been called on.
Never.
I find that really odd. And the other thing that's interesting is, I thought like when you get called on door to door, they're going to present their paradise earth and their hope for the future, hope for the dead, whatever they can use on you to try to attract you to their organization. But when you meet someone like me, I mean, I'm telling what's behind the curtain kind of thing, like the Wizard of Oz. I'm showing you what really goes on and how they treat people who leave, and the shunning and the other side of the religion that you don't normally get to see. So your first exposure to the religion basically is my story.
And the shunning, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the shunning part to me was so astounding that you could be brought up from childhood, from birth, with parents and friends and loved ones in a community, and you did all the right things. You followed the religion, and did it, I think, to a T, to the way it was supposed to have been done. And for your entire community, what it must have felt like, as something I said to you, is extremely brave and courageous to leave a part of a community, whether it was your choice or not, but to have people actually shun you when you walk around and discount you as a human being.
It's mental torture.
It
really
traumatic.
It is.
It's traumatic. There are people today who experience that in school and end up unfortunately committing suicide. And here you were being shunned by every single human being you ever knew in your entire life. And I could not imagine how that can happen to somebody.
Well, that's why I left. That's why I moved 3,000 miles away and started my whole life all over again. I left my friends, my job, everything, my family, everything behind, and I started again. And that's why it's so important to restart your community again by reaching out to people like Kathy.
And you remained positive. You not only left, you started a new life with nobody around in a whole new world, and you always kept a smile on your face. You always made people laugh around you. Everyone who would visit your department would always have a smile on their face when they left your office.
And I didn't give them
and
any
you brought
brochures either.
That's true. And you brought joy to every single person who walked in that room. So for you to have gone out, for you to have experienced something that traumatic and have people treat you as though you were invisible, people who loved you, who no longer love you, treat you as though you were invisible. It's my phone.
Somebody's in demand here. That's fine, I know.
And to have kept that positive attitude is extraordinary, because most people wouldn't. Really, most people wouldn't. They go through less in life and they have more difficult time.
Well, it's definitely, something in my bucket list I don't have to do now. Be shunned. Maybe you want to add that to your bucket list. Be shunned by your entire community. It's really great.
Hello. I'll just shun myself.
I want to give everyone a little bit of background about Kathy too, and what attracted me to her. Sounds like we're dating or something.
We are both married to men, by the way.
To men. Yeah, is that like I said before, when Jehovah's Witnesses, my background is always people always complaining about the world and how horrible it is, but not doing anything about it. Just waiting for someone else to do something about the world. Whereas Kathy, she volunteers so much for her community. You have no idea the things she's doing. Like, for example, I think you told me that one of the latest projects that she's on right now is she's a president and the co-founder of a charity whose mission is to provide a variety of solutions to affordable housing needs within the community. I mean, this is something that is needed, and it is really helpful to people. And I think I was so excited to hear that she also recently spoke. She was the treasurer for a huge charitable organization within Montreal here. She spoke as the treasurer in front of who's now the Prime Minister of Canada, which I think is exciting. That's cool. Everyone loves Justin Trudeau in this country. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people do. And even if we didn't vote for him, anyway, that's another story. That's another story. But it's cool that she's a very high profile person who does amazing things for this world. Her husband is a medical doctor, and having been with you guys out in restaurants, I mean, you guys can barely go anywhere in this city without somebody coming up to want to shake her husband's hand for helping, basically save their life. Well, not basically, he has saved people's lives. He does that on a daily basis, and what's interesting, again, I'm trying to show that when you have a friend like Kathy who's really reaching out for the community, trying to make the world a better place, and is making the world a better place, one person at a time. These are the kind of people that you meet outside the organization, because it's like you raise your energy levels. I find you leave all the negativity behind, and you become a more positive person, and then you are attracted to other positive people. You see, the negative people don't want anything to do with you when you're positive. They're not attracted to that. And so you're going to find yourself with people that are actually trying to make the world a better place instead of just complain about it. And that's something I love about Kathy, and what I love about, and of course she's a mother of 2, and one of your kids is adored by my son. They're about the same age. They just love each other. They're so cute together.
Yeah, they are. But you know what you're saying about negativity and positivity, I like to relate it to like a magnet. So when you have a magnet and you put the two together and they attach, because one is attracting the other and it will stick together. And to me, that's like the positive attracting the positive, and the opposite is the positive with the negative. What's going to happen is they're going to bounce off each other. You don't want the negativity and the positivity aren't going to stick together. Their energies are going to bounce off each other, and you don't want that negativity around you, nor does the negativity want to be around the positivity.
No, because as I say, misery loves company, and I'm done with the misery. I've moved on. But let me ask you something. So when we first started talking about the whole JW story, my story, whatever, did you start thinking what a weirdo I was, like, for having that kind of a background?
Not at all. Like I said originally, I was so intrigued because I had never met anybody, and I had always heard the name, but no one ever knocked on my door. I had heard that people knock on doors. I had never seen it, heard it, met one. So for me, it was very interesting. It wasn't a weirdo type of thing. It was more of like, wow, you were a Jehovah Witness? I would have never, ever expected that. And I never even thought to ask you, what was your background?
Yeah.
Are you Italian? Are you this? Are you that? You just started to tell me that you were JW. And I remember saying, what is a JW?
Well, the reason I asked that is that there are people who leave the organization who are very embarrassed to ever talk about it. Whereas I blab it to the world. I'm like, yeah, I was a JW, sucks, you know? But not that I'm looking for sympathy. I think people need to be warned about this organization.
And educated.
Warned, and just so that they can make an informed choice. If you want to join it, that's your business. You know, I'm not here to stop anyone from being part of it. But at least have the facts about it,
Yeah.
you know, the facts about what really goes on. And but there's a lot of people that are terrified to even tell their husband that they used to be a witness. And that's why I wanted to know, did you think I was a weirdo after I told you? Because you see, for me, I was born into it. And I think the people who tend to be afraid to talk about it are people who joined at a later part in their life, and they're embarrassed that they joined. They feel like they got suckered into this, or they feel stupid for having joined it. But I don't think people think that way. I don't think people care. I think people just realize sometimes it happens at a low point in your life. You know, something bad happened. Maybe you just had a breakup of sorts, or you lost your job and the witnesses call, and suddenly you feel, you know.
Whatever your choices are at the time are what you need to do to help yourself. It's not really I don't feel that it's not really a bad choice. It's a choice that you needed to get you to another level. It may have helped you and it may not have, but it will certainly take you to the place you need to be. So if you did join Jehovah Witness because you felt that that is what you needed at the time, you may have stayed there because it is something for you. It may be something that works for you. But I don't think people should be embarrassed for several reasons.
Not at all.
One is that the community outside of the Jehovah's Witness community don't know a lot about you. They don't know a lot about what happens. They don't know a lot about what you believe in. They don't know a lot about what is preached. They don't know about the shunning. I had no idea about that, and I know a lot of people who don't know anything about it. I will say my friend Susan, and they'll say things like, oh, how's Susan, or what's her background, or where is she from? And if I say Jehovah Witness, nothing comes out of their mouth because they don't know anything about it.
Are they like this?
No, they don't know. They just don't know.
Yeah.
People don't know. And I believe that education is one of the most important things we can provide to people in the world about anything.
Yeah.
And we need to get information out there about Jehovah Witness. It doesn't have to be positive or negative, but as you know, I am a facts and data person. So it's facts and data, and if you think that that's positive, that's your choice. And if you think that's negative, that's your choice. But you're one person who knows the facts and who knows the data, who's lived it for, 25 years, I think? 20?
Sure. 30.
30. You've lived it for 30 years.
I'll take 5 years off my life, though.
From your birth.
Yeah.
There's no one who knows more because you followed it. No. You listened to everything that had to be done. So if anybody should educate, I really believe it's you, because you do it in I do believe it's you because you're not a person who's going to do it in a way that's harmful.
No, I mean, I always just try to present the facts, just as you were saying. I always just try to say, this is what happened. In fact, I wanted to know, are you aware of what Jehovah's Witnesses say about world? By the way, they call you a worldly person. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No.
Worldly.
No.
Are you aware of
I think that's a good thing. But
worldly, yes. Are you? Well, I think so now, but they don't view it that way.
They don't think so.
W.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's like two L's together. So
yeah.
Loser, double loser. Worldly.
Winner.
Well, to me,
you
it's
see
winner.
how we see things a bit differently?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to show you what they actually do say about worldly winners. So the gentleman on the left is one of their leaders. He's part of what they call the governing body, or another name for them is their 7-headed, 10-horned wild pope that governs and leads the organization. And here he is giving a talk very recently in Spain.
We see the brothers come in the door of the Kingdom Hall. They all look a little bit crazy. You see, the brothers in the city, they have to come many times right from work, and they have to get onto the subway. And all these people are pushing them and shoving them.
Y todo este poblacho está empujando y agarrándolos.
And the people are using filthy language.
Y el lenguaje suez.
And people are smoking.
Y están fumando.
And they have to try to get through all of this.
Y tienen que hacer lo necesario para penetrar todo eso.
And they walk in the door of the Kingdom Hall, and they just look like, you know. You see, at the beginning of that meeting, those young men looked like people of the world, you know. At the end of that meeting, they looked like our brothers.
Right, so he's basically saying that worldly people are all pushy and shovey, that they use this filthy, foul language, and that they're all smoking. Actually, come to think of it, that is how you used to come to work every day.
I'm imitating him, what he was doing, actually. That is what he was doing.
Exactly. Good. You're a good interpreter of foul. She's a great interpreter of foul language, I find.
Yeah.
Because we don't know any foul language. No, actually, Kathy is not like
typically,
that,
I would say very typically, I don't speak foul. I don't speak
no,
with
I
foul
don't think I've ever heard you
at
say
all,
foul.
actually. I don't find it, I don't like it. I don't like to use foul language. I find it very disrespectful. And I think there are other words you can use instead of saying, you know, fudge.
Fudge is a good one. But she does push and shove.
Yeah.
But when I watched that though, I just found, I don't know how you found it being a worldly person, because that's who he's talking about. He's addressed, obviously, I guess I'm a worldly person too now, but coming from that environment, I just found it like, oh, really, like, it's like they've got this elitist attitude. But have you ever wondered where they got this elitist attitude from? You'll know it's from their publications, and I wanted to just show you where they said this.
Okay, because I really don't understand. For me, worldly is something that I've always seen as positive, and the reason I see it as positive is because I find it wisdom, education, culture. There's so many things we need to learn about that when I describe somebody as worldly, I mean they have so much knowledge that I would love to learn from them what they know, because I don't know. And I've always said the more I know, the less I know, because I realize there's so much more to learn in life.
Yeah.
So that's how I see worldliness.
Yeah, it's funny. And, you know, American Express used to have the slogan, so worldly, so welcome. And we used to joke about it when we were like teenagers at the time. Me and my friend, we'd say, oh, worldly, you know, it was bad. And we'd say, I guess we can't have an American Express card. Or we were kind of waiting for the society to clamp down on that one too, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a different perspective.
Very.
But let's just take a look at some of the quotes that the society has to say about this. Okay, so here are some quotes from various watchtowers and One Kingdom Ministry. Who are no part of the world? Only Jehovah's Witnesses. Who in our time demonstrate love? Only Jehovah's Witnesses. Only one group of people is doing this work that Jesus foretold. Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses are the happiest people on earth. Jehovah's servants are the most loving, united, peaceful, law-abiding people on earth. And do you want to maybe just read the last
Sure.
one, Kathy?
Only Jehovah's Witnesses, those of the anointed remnant and the great crowd, as a united organization under the protection of the supreme organizer, have any scriptural hope of surviving the impending end of this doomed system dominated by Satan the devil.
So that's where they got their elitist attitude from. You know, only Jehovah's Witnesses are going to survive. Only Jehovah's Witnesses are happy. And only Jehovah's Witnesses can do this or that. But now we're going to see what they actually have to say about worldly people. Okay, this is from the February 2013 Watchtower under the subheading, Our Choice of Associates. It says, of course, some contact with unbelievers, like at work, is unavoidable. But it's quite another matter, though, to socialize with them, even cultivating close friendships with them. Do we justify such association by saying that they have many good qualities? Do not be misled, warns the Bible. Bad associations spoil useful habits. Just as a small amount of pollution can contaminate clean water, friendship with those who do not practice godly devotion can contaminate our spirituality and lead us into adopting worldly viewpoints, dress, speech, and conduct.
Since worldly people are existing as slaves of corruption, their company cannot bring you true happiness. The majority of people have no interest in God and his purposes.
And then from the 1987 September 15th Watchtower, it says, while some contact with worldly people is unavoidable, again, it's similar to the other quote we read, and otherwise we must be vigilant so as to keep from being sucked back into the death-dealing atmosphere of this world. Let the world go along in its way, reaping its bad fruitage in the form of broken homes, illegitimate births, sexually transmitted diseases such as AIDS, and countless other emotional and physical woes. So after having seen that, I mean, I'm actually embarrassed for having seen that, because it's almost like that feeling, you know, when you, if ever you talk bad about someone, not that we ever do, but if you ever have ever spoken badly about somebody in your life and that person heard you and called you on it and said, oh, you said this, right, and this about you. It's that feeling of, you know, yeah, I did. Like, you can't deny it, right? Like, this is what they said about people like you. Like, how does that make you feel when you see those quotes from their own publications?
Interesting that you say people like me, because I don't see it as people like me. I see it as being lumping an entire population in the world into one category. So I don't only look at it as people like me. I'm sort of not taking it personally. I'm more taking it offensively that you can lump an entire category of people in the entire world into one group as negative, as bad, as evil, and that you are the only ones that are right. Yeah. And I have a very difficult time with that, because I don't believe that about anybody. I believe there's good and bad in everyone. And everyone meaning not every single human being, but yes, every single human being has positive attributes and negative attributes. But in every religion, you will have extremists. And we can talk easily about today and what's going on with terrorism and ISIS. Yes, they are the extreme Muslims that are giving all Muslims a bad name, but not all Muslims are bad. There are Jews that are extreme Jews and extremists, and not all Jews are bad, but some are not great. There are people like this in every religion. So to lump the entire world as evil and to say that you're the only good ones is really difficult for me to hear. But again, I don't take it personally. I take it more as something that is hard for me to hear about other people.
But that's what high controlling groups tend to do. They tend to paint a very black and white picture. They're white, you're black. You know, they're good, you're bad. And if you want to be good, you've got to be with us. You know, because only Jehovah's Witnesses are going to survive. That kind of idea. Yeah. They don't really say that to the doors, though. They won't really say that to your door. They would say, like, if they're calling on you, they may say something like, well, we don't judge. You know, that's what I used to say. I used to just say, well, we don't judge, right? God will judge. All I know is that you will be safe if you join with me. But see, that's the part.
But then you're judging.
But then you're judging. Well, you're trying to give people the best outcome, right? So you feel you've got the right answer, so come with me, you know? But the problem I have with that is they create this idea that they're better people and that it's a safe environment. You know, you can let down your guard when you're with them. Like if I had an elder come up to me and said, oh, I'll take your son to the mall and give you a break, you know, this afternoon. And I wouldn't even have hesitated. Sure, take him to the mall. That's great, because it's an elder. I mean, what could possibly happen, right?
Right.
You know, only to realize that that's something else that people don't realize, is that these same people that claim to be different and better are actually not better at all. In fact, some of them are wolves in sheep's clothing. And I'm not saying they're all like that. I'm not trying to paint them all like that, the way they try and paint the world as all bad. But yes, there are some very bad people there, and you should never let down your guard. You should always realize that people are people. People make mistakes, whether you're Jehovah's Witnesses or not. Mm-hmm. And this pedophile problem definitely is something that lurks underneath the surface, that people just do a bit of research and you're going to find out, you know. And so it's that same idea. Just one more point about this whole thing is it reminds me of the Pharisees. That, you know, Jesus always said, you know, don't look at the straw in your brother's eye when you've got a rafter in your own eye. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, so here they are calling everyone else in the world, like literally everyone else in the world, bad people, and, you know, they illegitimate kids, and they swear and they push and they shove, and they're just horrible people, and that they're different. And it's exactly what the Pharisees used to do. And then you realize, actually, you're not any different. You're the same. And you've got the gall to say that people like Kathy are horrible people when you've got pedophiles within your midst. You know? It's really something to think about. And to me, it's very disturbing.
The really unfortunate thing is that if you don't ever leave it, you will always believe it. Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part is... I guess I don't know if it's sad. I find it sad. Maybe for them it's not sad because they believe that what they're doing is right and true and in the right direction. But, you know, I'll just give one quick example before we close because I know we've been talking for a long time and we can go on all day. That's our thing. We can talk forever. But you can just keep on for part 2. There was a story about a terrorist who flew into the United States who is going to do a bombing mission to kill individuals, Americans. And he was going to do it the next day. And he was ill and went to the hospital because I don't know the details, unfortunately, and I'm usually a facts and data person, but what stood out to me and what was profound was that he had nobody here in the United States. When I say here, I just mean in the Western world, but he had no one here, and the hospital took care of him and the doctors took care of him, and a family took him in because there was no one around to help him. And he grew up understanding that Americans were evil and that he was supposed to come here to kill them. And he couldn't understand why everyone was helping him. And it turned him around. And he became an individual who started speaking out against it and to try and educate people that Americans are not evil. But had it not been for this incident, he would have killed the Americans. And I see the same, not that Jehovah's Witnesses are out to kill other people. That's not the comparison I'm trying to make. But the comparison I'm trying to make is that when you're brought up to believe that people are evil and you are not around other people in any other way, you will always believe they're evil until kindness kills evil.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I was saying about, you know, how every day almost I'm astounded at worldly people and how nice they are to me. Because if you have this idea that everyone around you is horrible, then that's going to be the impression you give. Right. You know, that's what you're going to think. I never forget Wayne Dyer, actually. Remember, we were a fan of some of Wayne Dyer's books, and he just passed away not too long ago. But one thing he said, he was an author, somebody had asked him, you know, I live in Chicago and I'm moving to the coast. What are the people like on the coast? And he says, well, what are they like where you live? And they said, oh, they're horrible. They're always busy. They don't know time for their families. They're always rushed. They're very rude. He says, I think you're going to find that people are like that there too. And it's if you're always told that people are bad, that's what you're going to see. Mm-hmm. You're going to be surrounded by negativity, and that's all you're going to see is negativity. But once you get a chance to get out and just step away from the witnesses for a while, if you are a witness, just take a break for a couple of weeks and just start looking at things in a different way. You're going to realize it's not what you're being told. It's all a lie. And you're going to realize that it's a much different world than you've been told.
Not everyone is evil. Not everyone is bad. There are evil people. Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. That you can't escape because there are evil people in the world, but there are more good than there are bad.
Agreed. There's a little clip I wanted to show you from a friend of mine, Neil. He calls himself the Great Apostate, and I highly recommend his YouTube channel. And he's just got a little clip here because he was also talking about worldly people. Let's have a look.
They don't like you, they don't respect you, they think you're bad. But there's hope for you because they can convert you to one of them and then you'll be good. What's to lose?
Yeah, so Neil, I love what Neil has to say. He's so real, he'll just cut right to the chase.
He's hysterical, usually. So how do you feel about this type of interview with someone who comes from my background and doesn't know about Jehovah Witness and everything we talked about in that sense? Because I've seen your other interview with another individual who did know and had that same background as you. What do you feel about this?
It's nice to get your perspective because I think it's fresh. And you've got a very different outlook, and it's very positive. It's just so, to me, it's just so refreshing.
And what do you hope to get from this, like this, not your series, well, your series and this particular video?
I just want people to see what an outsider would say who has really no background at all. I want people to just realize that there is a world out there outside of their own small little world. Because I know I talk a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses, but let's face it, they're just a drop in the bucket. I mean, when you say, what do people think of witnesses? People don't care. They really don't. I mean, you've got your whole life, you've lived your whole life without talking about Jehovah's Witnesses. Why talk about them now? But unfortunately, they are one of the many high controlling religions in the world that has affected a lot of people. I mean, I personally know of 6 people who committed suicide. And it's heartbreaking to see what goes on, how they do have such a detrimental effect on the family. People don't know that there is an underlying badness to the religion. Not the people, I never want the people to feel I'm targeting them. I was one of you, and I have family still in it and friends still in it. So I never think badly of the people at all. It's the organization that has taken on a monstrousness of its own. I don't think it started out that way. I think it started out with good intentions, and somehow it's ended up in this multi-billion dollar corporation that has harmed a lot of people. And so I'm hoping that people will just do the research and I'm not saying this because I'm trying to draw followers after me. I'm just saying this because I'm trying to be honest and helpful to people. And if they listen, great. And if not, if you want to carry on with the religion, you're
Great
happy,
too.
that's fine. You know?
Well, thank you for inviting me to this
Yeah.
interview. I loved it and I had a great time.
Me too.
And like I said, we could chat forever, so.
And we will. When this camera goes off, we'll still be talking.
Yeah.
But not
Have
about
a great
you.
day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
If you like it, then like it.
Yeah. If you like it, then like it, like it, like it.
Bye.